here, then we'll talk about Ring of Honor. Caller, you're on the air. Who is this?
This is Deca Darabolin.
Deca Darabolin. How you doing? A steroid is called the show.
I'm talking to a roid.
What's going on?
Indeed you have, Vinny. The first one you've ever seen in your life.
That's true.
Undoubtedly true.
How you guys doing?
What's going on?
Nothing. I heard that you guys are going to be reviewing Ring of Honor.
We're about to review Ring of Honor right now. Do you see the show?
Absolutely not.
Really? You're not a big fan of it?
I want to ask you sincerely to just stop giving them attention.
Wow.
And why is that?
Not a fan.
They'll be dead soon. Not too long. The Florida shows are canceled.
Well, that's
Guys
true.
doing moves have kind of grown a little old.
Now, were you a Ring of Honor? Let me ask this question, because we have a lot of...
the answer to your previous question was yes.
Okay. Well, no, the more specific question is, there are a lot of fans that loved Ring of Honor and feel that the booking has gotten very, very stale and are very upset about it. Are you one of those fans?
I'm one of those fans, but it's also a chance that there's just 6 people with like 40 different accounts around the internet bitching really loudly. Not sure if it's a lot of people.
I see.
Always possible.
That's our board. But so what is it that you're not a big fan of these days? Any particular angles? Any particular wrestlers?
I find that Claudio Castagnoli is very bland in Ring of Honor. Nigel McGuinness does nothing for me most of the time.
Oh, okay.
They pretty much manage to take anyone that they get, and by the nature of them all just being bland white men in colored trunks, they kind of aren't any. They're not very entertaining.
I did notice on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view that Eric Stevens used to have a mohawk, and the mohawk at least set him apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he got a job at Payless or something, and they told him no mohawks here, but he had to get rid of the mohawk. And I thought, okay, of all the possible non-mohawk haircuts in the world, why would you get a plain, short, brown haircut
It's a close
in
crop
Ring
cut.
of Honor?
Yes.
That's like the one haircut you don't get in that place, and he got it. Just another guy.
And that is originally, I don't think it was anything about him in particular, but I think it was the fact that he had a mohawk was what made me like a couple of his matches.
Yeah, he had a mohawk.
Now he's just a dude.
He's just another guy.
I guess
A face in the crowd.
Jimmy Jacobs has the mohawk now, and he's got a hell of a mohawk.
His mohawk blows Eric Stevens' mohawk out of the water, to be fair.
Yes. So he does have that going for him, but... Anything else here today, Deca?
Well, I wanted to ask you if you had received my PWU report.
I believe I have. I will actually have to go back and look. When did you send it?
Last night, I believe. But I just want to... The only fact from that show that I will put out over the radio is that Virgil showed up and was in the Giants-only Battle Royal. And
Stop right there. A Giants-only Battle Royal. Well,
and Virgil was in it.
What are these size minimums? What counts as a giant in PWU?
Lots of fat-ass geeks who, if they try and take a front-forward flip, it's really scary because they almost land on their necks.
I have found my home.
Wow.
I can work there.
So he was in this Battle Royal.
Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, my God.
Well, he is a giant. He's a big guy.
He was #1, and he worked with Gary Wolf. And they had about 6 inches of air between everything they threw, and I just wanted to give them a ribbon for it.
Wow. This sounds like the best Battle Royal I've ever heard of. Nikolai Volkov, Gary Wolf. Is
that a pit bull?
Virgil? Who else was in this Giants Battle Royal?
And Sandman's son, Twisted Sand, who was not only intoxicated, not only did not have gear, but when he came down to the ring, because they had 2 rings for some reason, to have this epic Battle Royal.
Well, they're giants. They need space.
He got into the ring in which there were no people in it. And he's only about 6'2", I would say.
Oh, only, yeah.
He is his father's son.
Yes.
In every way. That makes me happy, actually.
But Virgil, young Virgil, sadly he did not have the wrestling superstar sign with him when he was signing autographs. At this family show, Virgil was pretty much doing the old fist to the mouth, tongue out the cheek, blowjob motion.
Oh, boy.
He was switching between face and heel repeatedly.
Tim Flowers.
At one point, he and Mr. Hughes went to the other ring, and I guess because they're black brothers, they just talked for a little bit. Like, fuck this, I'm not working, I'm done. And then at one point, somebody threw a punch at Virgil. Virgil did not sell, he just laughed.
Wow.
I demand a tape of the show right now.
I need to go find the review of this show now and put it on the front page.
Well, I will resend it to you, Brian, just because.
All right, resend it to me tonight, and I'll put it up in the morning.
Glad to hear it. And, Brian, keep up the good work. I troll you a lot, but that's only trolling about, I would say, 85% of the time.
Oh, that's okay. As long as there's 15% of non-trolling, I'm cool with that.
Yes.
All right, Deca. Well, thanks very much for the call. I very much appreciate it. And we'll put that report up on the front page tomorrow. And that is a show I need to tape
That
up.
sounds awesome. You know what my favorite part of that call was? He said, first steroid you ever seen, like it's an insult. You non-steroid using pencil neck geek?
How dare you?
How dare I be clean?
All right, let's talk about this ROH pay-per-view really quick. There's not a lot to talk about till the last couple of matches. Briscoes beat Silas Young and Mitch Franklin. I don't need to talk about the match, but I need to talk about the Briscoes video package, which was the best fucking thing I've ever seen in all of my life. And I should have brought this up to Deca Durabalin and told him that he should have watched this. This fucking promo. They were out in the sticks.
In their
They were
pickup truck.
drinking. They were driving their pickup truck.
They were driving their pickup truck while drinking and pointing their guns out the windows.
The gist of this promo was that they hate Age of the Fall because they think they are poor anarchists, and they said, let me show you how to start a revolution, and they began shooting guns. And then they petted some dogs, and they drank some more, and then they said, man up repeatedly.
There's a part where they just stood there and stared into the swamp.
They had fisticuffs?
Fisticuffs. We've often mentioned that while we're not fans of the Briscoes matches, we love their promos. This is like the greatness from all their promos put together and put to the power of 10.
Yeah.
It was so unbelievably awesome.
And it was almost topped later, but not quite.
I don't recall anything nearly this great ever in my entire life. This was awesome.
Delirious, Eric Stevens, Ruckus, and Shane Hagedorn had a fun little battle. Went about 3 minutes, bunch of spots, Stephen Pin Hagedorn with the Dr. Bomb, and that was that. And then we had the Austin Aries promo, where this was a failure, by the way.
There was an absolutely incoherent video, useless if you've not seen every ROH show since the last pay-per-view. There was literally clips that lasted for 3 seconds at a time of Age of the Fall doing stuff and getting bled on and stabbing people and doing something outside on the street somewhere. And that's all I know.
Failure.
Yes.
Then we had Steen and Necro Butcher in a no DQ match. They beat the hell out of each other all over the place. And this is why I'm just going to stop right here and tell you why I love this pay-per-view. This pay-per-view was very easy to watch until the last 10 minutes, but we'll get into that later. Very easy to watch. Every single match on this show was exactly what a match at that point in a show should have been.
Sure.
This was a hardcore battle, but they didn't do every fucking spot in the book. They didn't do stuff insanely crazy except for one package pile driver through a chair. They hit each other with some things. It was about a 3.25 star match. It was good. They didn't try and have the best match on the show. They just had a good hardcore match in the middle of the program.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this all the way up.
Yes.
Every match got a little bit better, and then the main event was a Match of the Year candidate, and then unfortunately there was something else, but we'll get into that in a minute. But the fact that every match was not perfect made this show perfect.
Yes. Every match was...
If TNA had a clue, if TNA had the slightest clue, they would figure that out, but they never have.
No.
And ROH has done this before, where every wrestler tries to have the best match on the show. Very noble, makes for a show that burns people out.
Yes.
This was the only show that Craig ever made it all the way through. The only one.
Think about that. He's watched like 4 of them.
He always leaves, every ROH pay-per-view, he's left at about
at
60,
least 40 minutes early, yes.
60 or 75 minutes. He's just gone out the door. He said, that's all I can take. You get burned out by having every match try and be the best match on the show. This was perfect. This was a perfect show.
And it went further beyond that, and that everything was paced properly, too. Often it's match at neck break pace, and then the screen kind of cuts away in a special event, and it comes back, and the next match is beginning. This time, there was all sorts of stuff to break things up. There was the great Briscoes video. There was things like the Austin Aries promo. Kevin Steen came out and cut a promo before his match. Everything, it felt like you had a chance to breathe in between every match.
Yep.
So this was As long as we're here, this is my favorite Ring of Honor pay-per-view thus far.
I think it was mine as well. And Adam Pearce even cut a good promo.
Yeah, see, Adam Pearce came on the screen, and you can confirm this. I screamed, no! But then he cut a promo that was fine. He hit Brent Albright with a fireball. He is not there tonight. He is defending his NWA title
Actually,
somewhere.
none of this matters because he's not with Ring of Honor anymore.
Oh, well, there you go.
But it was good. Then we had an awesome segment with Larry Sweeney and his crew. He is now tossing business cards into the crowd, which I believe have his phone number on them, his office number, which is a hotline, an old-school wrestling hotline where he gives news about Sweet and Sour Incorporated.
Please tell me he's taking like $2.99 a call.
No.
Ah, damn.
And anyway, his getup was a suit jacket, a white shirt, cowboy boots, and blue jeans tucked into them.
Blue jeans tucked into the cowboy boots. So awesome.
Tried to recruit Naomichi Marufuji. Marufuji flipped him off. Sweeney flapped his arms and stumbled and gyrated like a madman.
You've never seen anyone sell a middle finger like this.
No.
It was a delayed reaction, too. At first, it was just shock. He could not believe that someone had the audacity to turn him down and give him the middle finger. And then he almost took a bump. He jumped backwards. He windmilled his arms. He caught himself at the last second. And then it actually got better as he spun in a circle and waved his arms in the air. He was so awesome. And meanwhile,
he said, "Fuck you, Detroit, I'm leaving." And as he was about to bail, Lance Storm came out and said, "No, your men are wrestling tonight, and I'm going to stay here to make sure you don't interfere." And this was old school and awesome.
Yes, and as Larry was freaking out before he left, he was standing next to his hired gun, Go Shiozaki, a massive, stoic Japanese man who just stood there.
And looked at him.
Yes.
So they had Roderick Strong and Marufuji against Chris Hero and Go Shiozaki, which was another good match. And this was also when I realized how great this show was, because Roderick Strong got the pin on Chris Hero with a backbreaker. In every other Ring of Honor show I've ever watched, there is no way a backbreaker would have been the finisher where it came in this match. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Nothing wrong with it.
No.
And at this point on the show, that was a perfectly acceptable finisher, which made the rest of the show even better.
Because we had not
Thumbs up.
We had not spent an hour watching people kick out of pile drivers and brainbusters and full Nelson suplexes and everything. No. A backbreaker here was a perfectly fine finish, and it furthered the feud of Roderick Strong versus Sweet and Sour, and it was all good.
And we had Brent Albright doing a promo covered in gauze, and said he was going to kill Adam Pearce. And it was a good promo, but again, Pearce is gone. So I hope they did something good for the next pay-per-view. Then we had the second greatest thing I've ever seen, which was Claudio Castagnoli training in the park. He had a giant log.
He was swinging a tree around.
He swung it around in a giant spin, a giant swing, an airplane spin. He powerbombed the log. Awesome.
He also jumped on some stairs.
This was great. Which led to the match. McGuinness versus Castagnoli for the ROH title. It started slow. Actually, it started fast. They did a finishing sequence.
Yes.
Then it slowed down. Then it picked up. And anyway, long story short, this was not a match of the year candidate, but it should not have outshone the main event. And so I gave this 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was an excellent world title match. I thought the last 3 minutes or so were awesome. And I noticed, as I've mentioned before, that Nigel has taken Chris Nowinski's book to heart. He's working a much safer style. It is not made for worse matches. His matches are still excellent, and I give this 2 thumbs up.
I am with you on everything here. As the semi-main event, it's not the job of this match to be the best match on the show. For the sake of the show, it should be worse than the main event, which it was by not a great. It wasn't much worse than the main event. It was still an excellent match, and I'm also with you in that I thought this was like 3 stars, like the whole way through, like good, nothing special, and then the last 3 minutes were just awesome stuff, and that added like a whole star to the rating. So yes, giant thumbs up.
And then Danielson and Tyler Black, at least 4.5 stars. This match was so fucking awesome. Bryan Danielson is getting over Bryan Danielson stuff, and that's why he's so great. The spot that really did it for me was he went for an arm bar, and Tyler sat up, and he transitioned into a triangle, which is a legitimate MMA spot, and the people went crazy for it. Mm-hmm. They know that Bryan Danielson can submit you if he gets you in something.
Yeah.
And they did all their spots. There was a spot where Danielson took a power bomb into the turnbuckle, which proceeded to break. His head came about an inch from the metal buckle. He could have died if he would have hit it, but luckily the gods were smiling upon him. They played into the match. It looked awesome. And they did a bunch of near falls at the finish, and finally Danielson got him down and started laying in the elbows, and the referee went nuts, and the crowd went nuts, and stopped the match, and this ruled.
There were many, many great things here. There's a long sequence where Danielson just locked Tyler Black in very painful-looking submission holds. It was like old-school stretching. I'm just going to bend your arm and leg in ways it's not supposed to go. And Tyler Black screamed, and the crowd chanted, "Not this is awesome, this is wrestling."
Yeah.
And my heart melted. And right there, I fell in love with the show. And then there's a point later where Tyler Black he had the heat on Danielson, and Danielson did an old-school Jerry Lawler no-selling comeback. He Bryan Danielson'd up, where he suddenly stopped selling and began to roar and scream and fired up a bunch of punches, and then Tyler Black cut him off. And I thought, that was so old school, and I love that too. And then the third thing was just, what was the third thing? Something else I really liked about this, but I guess mainly just how generally great it was. Oh, after the turnbuckle broke, they, of course, once they realized Danielson was still alive, they did some stuff, and Black went over to the ropes like he was going to hit his finisher, that twisty Phoenix Splash thing, which of course he couldn't do because the rope was broken. So they improvised and added that right into the finish, and I thought that was great.
And then we had the final segment on the show, which was Aries and Jacobs brawling all over the building. They ended up climbing onto a ladder. Necro Butcher came out. Jacobs told him to hit Aries. Aries told him to do the right thing. And so Necro tipped the ladder over, and they both went through a table, so he has not decided, and thumbs down.
I guess you don't want to get into it. It went forever, is the worst thing about this. They just fought and fought and fought and fought and fought.
They fought for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you wanted to do a quick brawl to do an angle at the end of the show, fine, but nothing was following the Danielson match.
No.
And to have this go so long, it was just like, why? I gave up. I stopped watching it.
We watched a great match in which the crowd chanted, "This is wrestling," for holds, and then here's these guys doing pointless crowd brawling, which we've seen 1,000 times before, and then they set up a table. Then they climbed up a ladder, but then the guy on the table got up and pulled the other guy down, and he climbed the ladder. And then the guy on the table jumped up and pulled him off the ladder, and he climbed up, and it was just went on and on and on. Then Necro Butcher came out to push them over. Now, apparently on Ring of Honor shows, they're doing an angle where Jimmy Jacobs berates Necro Butcher, or bullies him around or something. He's the Rick Steiner in the Varsity Club, basically. I don't watch those shows. I haven't seen them. This made no sense to me. We saw Age of the Fall earlier in the show, and they all got along fine. Now, an hour later, here's Necro Butcher, and he is okay with pushing Jimmy Jacobs through a table. What?
Let's take a call, and then we'll do some shout-outs, and then we'll wrap this baby up.